Welcome back, guys. We're going to continue looking at the build up to the American Revolution. And so, if you look right here, you can see kind of a timeline of events, starting with Proclamation of 1763, which is when King George tried to say, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it. Sugar Act, Stamp Act, we talked about those. They tried to implement these taxes on the colonists to help pay for the war. They felt like this is what we did. We paid for it. War is expensive. You guys should have to pay us back. The Townshend Acts, which leads to the Boston Massacre. They put more taxes on things. The colonists start to protest, no taxation without representation. They have these peaceful protests leading to the Boston Massacre. Today we're going to talk about the Boston Tea Party and the Intolerable Act. So, what you should be able to do, your learning target, I will be able to determine the impact of the Boston Tea Party. You should be able to look at what was the Boston Tea Party, what happened as a result of it. What I want you to do right now, your warm up, describe the Boston Massacre in 2 to 3 sentences. Describe the Boston Massacre in 2 to 3 sentences. If you are not able to describe the Boston Massacre in 2 to 3 sentences, we need to go back and watch the previous video's notes so that you can better understand what is about to happen. So, all of the protesting done by the colonists, including the boycotting of British goods and refusing to use anything that came from Britain, is hurting the English economy. The English are losing money. The merchants are losing money, which means that they can't pay as much to the country itself, and so therefore England is losing money. And so Parliament gets rid of all of their acts and taxes in an attempt to make the colonists less angry, make them less mad, or to pacify the colonists. The problem is that they leave the Tea Act. That is the only one that they do not appeal or repeal. That's the only one they don't take back. Which is a problem to the colonists because that's their drink of choice. They drink lots and lots of tea. And so the additional issue with the tax during the Tea Act is that it places a monopoly on tea, meaning that they are the only company that's producing tea. The British East India Company is the only one producing tea. And I want you to think right now to yourself why that could be a problem. Why, if there's only one company creating tea, could that be an issue? We'll get back to it. And instead of stopping the protests and helping to make the colonists less angry, it is the fact that they keep this tax on tea and set up this monopoly on tea that only makes them more angry. And the fact that they take away all of these other taxes leads the colonists to believe that they could push for even more. They could push for that representation in Congress. We don't care to be taxed as long as we have a representative that has a say in those taxes. And then the Tea Act. The monopoly made it to where the price of tea could be whatever that company decided for it to be. If there's only one company making something, then they get to set the price. That's why competition is so important. Two companies that make similar products, you tend to go with the one, if they're equal in quality, then you tend to go with the one that is least expensive. And so what ends up happening is that Britain sends all this tea. They send this tea, 3 ships worth of tea, to Boston. It's in the Boston Harbor. And the Sons of Liberty, led by Samuel Adams, on the evening of December 16th, they go to the Boston Harbor and they disguise themselves as Native Americans. They dress themselves as Native Americans, and they get on all 3 British ships and dump all of the tea into the harbor. They dump every bit of the tea into the Boston Harbor. And so this is a direct response and a direct action to the tea tax. And so They opposed the tea tax because it was set up by someone that did not represent them. Now, I want to tie this into current events for a little bit. I want you to determine or to tell me, is this a riot? Is this a riot? Is the destruction or the emptying of all of this tea into the Boston Harbor, is that considered a riot? Why not? Because if it is considered a riot, it is definitely considered a protest. It's definitely considered a protest. And so that would mean that protesting or fighting for rights is arguably one of the most American things you can do. And if that is the case, then why is it that some protests are looked down upon as opposed to others? Because if protesting is in the American fabric and the way that America was made, then why are some protests looked at as negative? And secondly, if this is considered a riot, does riot bring change? Does riot bring change? Anyway, the Boston Tea Party ends up fanning the flames of the rebellion, and it ends up just all the tension only continues to increase and increase and increase. If you think back to that first slide, think of all of those as ingredients, right? And you're putting the ingredients into this soup, and you're stirring the soup up. That soup is just starting to boil and boil and boil. All of these ingredients are being added to create the American Revolution soup. And the Boston Tea Party is another one of those ingredients. 90,000 pounds of tea, worth more than $700,000 then. $700,000 then is worth way, way more today. We're at $700,000 then. And so you see they were disguised as Native Americans. They're dumping the tea into the harbor. People are celebrating. People were celebrating this act, this protest, this defiance. And then you have other, this just goes to show how one painting of the same event can show both sides. This is obviously a patriot side. Everyone's cheering. They want it to happen. This is obviously a loyalist side. Everyone looks concerned. This man looks very angry. These people are yelling. They're very, very upset. And so this was the question I wanted you to answer. And this will be your discussion board question for the day. What was the impact of the Boston Tea Party? You need to use at least two specific reasons. I'm also going to provide you with some additional videos to help explain the Boston Tea Party to help you with your discussion questions. So you need to use two specific reasons from your notes and the videos to help support your claim. If you have any questions, reach out to me. And as always, you have a great day.